Stovall. Good afternoon. You can have a seat right over here to my left. Thank you for being here this afternoon.
Thank you.
Mr. Pennington, whenever you're ready.
Yes. Who are you, sir?
My name is Michael Stovall. I've been an investigator for 22 years, and I've been on this case for 5 years.
Okay. And what have you learned? Well, when you first got on the case, what did you know about the case?
I didn't know anything. But over the course of time, I met with your attorney a lot of times. We've gone over the case. But my primary job as an investigator is to make sure the client hears, and reads all the discovery. That's my primary job. And with your former attorney, we worked diligently to make sure you had everything and to make sure we got answers to a lot of questions that we had.
For example?
Where do you want me to start? Because I've been, like I said, on this case for 5 years. We started noticing different things probably, 3 or 4 years ago. There were some questions about this, that, and the other that we kept working, and we found some positive answers, and we pushed those. I've been in, I don't know how many courtrooms where your former attorney filed motions that were valid.
Objection, Judge.
What's the objection?
Relevance of motions and whether or not they're valid are not up to the investigator, they're up to the prior court rulings.
Mr. Pennington, any response to that?
I think it's very relevant.
Because?
Because he's directly involved in my case, and he has, firsthand knowledge of everything that, that's been involved in my case.
Okay, so you can ask questions about this case, but we're not going to get into questions or answers about other cases. Okay?
Okay.
All right. Go ahead and rephrase your question.
So
maybe I should say it's ask your next question, I guess I should say.
Okay. So what did you learn in particular that was eye-opening or exculpatory evidence to prove that, I wasn't guilty of the charges I was brought in here for?
Well, we started with locating a witness. We had been asking for a couple of years about a witness that the state had planned on calling. Once they decided not to call the witness, I found the witness, and I went out and spoke to the witness, and she clearly indicated
Objection. Hearsay, Judge. Anything that the witness said to him.
What is the purpose of, tell you what, why don't I just stop you there and let Mr. Pennington ask questions? Because
Okay.
I don't know if you were if that was going to be a follow-up question. So Mr. Pennington, you can go ahead and continue to ask questions.
What is the name of this witness that you...
Kimberly Dickinson.
Kimberly Dickinson. Okay, so when you arrived, was she friendly with y'all and willing to speak to you and who you were with?
Yes, she was. She was very friendly.
Who were you with?
I was with Mr. Gadget.
Mr. Vladimir Gadget, my previous counsel.
Yes.
And at the end of this interview, what did you discover?
She made comments
Objection,
that,
hearsay.
So what I'm going to ask Mr. Pennington is that you ask the specific question so that I understand exactly what is being asked, because right now, Mr. Stovall is answering your question, but your question is so open-ended that it's hard to kind of understand what the purpose of some of these questions are to address the state's objections. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Can you go ahead and rephrase your question?
Did this witness tell you that Christina Decoufle gave her money?
Objection,
Yes.
hearsay.
Overruled. Go ahead.
yes, she did.
Did she tell you that she doesn't know why the state or the police couldn't locate her?
Objection, Your Honor. This is hearsay, and the defendant is absolutely going to argue this is truth in closing.
Judge President, sense impression.
And he also cannot speak to why the state doesn't want to call a certain person as a witness.
All right. Can you read the question back?
Did she tell you that she didn't know why? Sorry. The state or the police couldn't locate her.
Overruled. Go ahead.
You want me to repeat the question?
Sure.
I think we just heard the question, but if you want to say it again, that's fine.
Can you answer the question, or do I need to repeat it?
Yeah, repeat the question.
The question was, did she inform you why the police said they couldn't locate her, or the state?
She made reference to the fact that she hadn't moved in 3 years, and the detective knew where she was.
And how did she know where she was?
She explained to us that she helped her with, I believe it was a GoFundMe, and she had been helping her with school.
With school, and how were they communicating?
Through Facebook, I believe.
Okay. Did you record this?
No.
Okay. Why not?
Well, because we went out on a whim. The state had indicated that they didn't know where she was, so we were just basically, I said, I think I found an address, let's go and see. So we weren't prepared to do the interview. And she happened to come to the door and open and spoke to us. Let us in and started talking.
Okay, and so at the end of this interview, did you let her know you would be coming back, or?
Yes, we did.
And what did she say?
She said she didn't have a problem with that.
Okay, and so you went back, and what happened?
When we returned the second time, there was a picture window that was in front of us. And I noticed that there was a camera now here and here. Before we got there, the first time we went, there was none. And she didn't answer the door. So I went back a third time with another one of my associates, and the window now is boarded up, and she was asking questions to people that lived in the complex, and
Your associate.
yes, a person that works for me. And so I was with her, but I wasn't in the car because, in my experience, if you go somewhere and you come back and there's cameras up, that means that person don't want to talk to you, especially an investigator. So I sent one of my associates, a female, to canvass the complex, and she started talking to neighbors, and one of the neighbors said, oh, well, she doesn't live here anymore. And so my associate turned to come back to the car, and Kimberly came running out of another apartment, and we left. She didn't want to talk to us.
Okay. Did you try to serve her with a subpoena?
I did not, no.
Okay. Did you review the Facebook records?
I believe, well, don't get me to lying. I believe I did it with Mr. Gadget, but I did not do it on my own.
Did you see a conversation where she says someone came to serve her with a subpoena?
I don't remember that, but I remember having a conversation with Mr. Gadget about the state sending someone out to serve her, and they couldn't find her. And then OPDS sent someone out, and he couldn't find her.
Why were y'all trying to locate Kimberly Dickinson in the first place?
Because she had valuable information for this case.
Like what?
Objection, prior court rulings, Judge.
Why don't you rephrase your question to be more specific?
Did Kimberly Dickinson identify me as someone was a pimp or sex trafficking minors?
She did not.
Did she identify someone else?
Yes, she did.
So she was a reliable source, or would you say she was a reliable source or a credible witness in that area of 25th Street and 24th Street in Van Buren?
I believe so.
That's the whole reason you wanted to interview her, correct?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Who is Vladimir Gadget?
He's an attorney, someone I've known for probably, I think, 10 years. I knew him on a federal case. I would trust myself with that man.
Okay. What type of evidence did he discover in the case as far as?
Objection, no personal knowledge.
I think you have to rephrase that question. As it's stated right now, it is seeking, there's not a basis for Mr. Stovall to answer that question.
Do you have any firsthand knowledge of how he was treated in fighting my case?
Objection, Judge. This is not relevant.
What's the reason?
Just to get clarification on, he's relevant to my case. Obviously, he's still my private investigator, and he has relevant knowledge on how the case has been progressing over the years. And also, he's been working close, hand in hand with my previous counsel for 4 years. So I think he has a testimony that is
The question is whether the answer to that question is relevant, and I don't think it's relevant based on what I've heard here, so I'm going to sustain the objection. Go ahead.
Okay. One moment, Judge. If you were in a similar situation, would you hire Vladimir Gadget to defend you?
Without a doubt.
Okay, no further
Fought
question.
really hard.
I'm sorry?
He's fought really hard.
Really hard. Do you feel that he sacrificed his career for me?
Objection.
Sustained. Folks, you'll disregard the last question.
No further questions. Thank you, Judge.